Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis and R. A. Neal. Jataka number 384. Dhammaddhaja-Jātaba. Practice virtue, etc. The master told this tale while living in Jetavana monastery, of a deceitful brother. He said, "Brethren, this man is not deceitful now for the first time." So he told an old world tale. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was king in Benares, the Bodhisattva was born as a bird. When he grew up, he lived amidst a group of attendants of birds on an island in the middle of the sea. Certain merchants of Kasi got a traveled crow and started on a voyage by sea. In the midst of the sea, the ship was wrecked. The crow reached that island and thought, "Here is a great flock of birds. It is good that I use deceit on them and eat their eggs and young." So he descended in their midst and opening his mouth stood with one foot on the ground. "Who are you, master?" they asked. "I am a holy person." "Why do you stand on one foot?" "If I put down the other one, the earth could not bear me." "Then why do you stand with your mouth open?" "We eat no other food, we only drink the wind." And with this he called these birds and saying, "I will give you a sermon, you listen," he spoke the first stanza by way of a sermon. Practice virtue, brethren, bless you. Practice virtue, I repeat. Here and after virtuous people have their happiness complete. The birds, not knowing that he said this with deceit to eat their eggs, praised him and spoke the second stanza. Surely a righteous bird, a blessed bird. He preaches on one leg the holy word. The birds, believing that wicked one, said, "Sir, you take no other food but feed on wind only. Sir, I request, watch our eggs and young." So they went to their feeding ground. That sinner when they went away ate his bellyful of their eggs and young, and when they came again he stood calmly on one foot with his mouth open. The birds not seeing their children when they came made a great outcry, "Who can be eating them?" But saying, "This crow is a holy person," they do not even suspect him. Then one day the Bodhisattva thought, there was nothing wrong here formally, it only began since this one came. It is good to try him. So making as if he were going to feed with the other birds, he turned back and stood in a secret place. The crow, confident because the birds were gone, rose and went and ate the eggs and young, then coming back stood on one foot with his mouth open. When the birds came, their king assembled them all and said, "I examined today the danger to our children, and I saw this wicked crow eating him. We will seize him." So getting the birds together and surrounding the crow he said, "If he flees, let us seize him," and spoke the remaining stanzas. You know not his ways, when this bird you praise. You spoke with foolish tongue. Virtue, he'll say, and virtue yes. But he eats our eggs and young. The things he preaches with his voice, his members never do. His virtue is an empty noise. His righteousness untrue. At heart a hypocrite, his language charms. A black snake slinking to his hole is he. He cheats by his outward coat of arms. The country folk in their simplicity. Strike him down with beak and pinion. Tear him with your claws. Death to such a dastard minion. Traitor to our cause. With these words the leader of the birds himself sprang up and struck the crow in the head with his beak, and the rest struck him with beaks and feet and wings. So he died. At the end of the lesson, the master identified the birth. At that time the crow was the deceitful brother, the king of the birds was myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis and R. A. Neal. Jataka number 385. Nandiyamiga-Jātaka. Will you go to the king's park, etc. The master told this in Jetavana monastery, of a brother who supported his mother. He asked the brother, "Is it true that you support lay folk?" "Yes, Lord." "What are they?" "My father and mother, Lord." Well done, brother. You keep up the rule of the wise men of old, for they too even when born as beasts gave their life for their parents. And so he told an old tale. Once upon a time when the Kosala king was reigning over the Kosalas in Saketa, the Bodhisattva was born as a deer. When he grew up he was named Nandiyamiga, and being excellent in character and conduct he supported his father and mother. The Kosala king was intent on the chase, and went every day to hunt with a great group of attendants, so that his people could not follow farming and their trades. The people gathered together and consulted, saying, "Sirs, this king of ours is destroying our trades, our home life is perishing. What if we were to enclose the Anjanavana park, providing a gate, digging a tank and sowing grass there? Then go into the forest with sticks and clubs in our hands, beat the bushes, and so expelling the deer and driving him along force them into the park like cows into a pen. Then we would close the gate, send word to the king and go about our trades." "That is the way," they said, and so with one will they made the park ready, and then entering the wood enclosed a space of a league each way. At the time Nandiya had taken his father and mother into a forest and was lying on the ground. The people with various shields and weapons in their hands encircled the thick vegetation arm to arm. And some entered it looking for deer. Nandiya saw them and thought, "It is good that I should abandon life today and give it for my parents." So rising and saluting his parents he said, "Father and mother, these men will see us three if they enter this thick vegetation. You can survive only in one way, and your life is best. I will give you the gift of your life, standing by the outskirts of the thick vegetation and going out as soon as they beat it. Then they will think there can be only one deer in this thick vegetation and so will not enter. Be mindful." So he got their permission and stood ready to run. As soon as the vegetation was beaten by the people standing at its outskirts, and shouting he came out, and they thinking there would be only one deer there did not enter. Nandiya went among the other deer, and the people drove them along into the park. Then closing the gate they told the king and went to their own homes. From that time the king always went himself and shot a deer. Then he either took it and went away, or sent for it and had it fetched. The deer arranged their turns, and he to whom the turn came stood on one side. And they take him when shot. Nandiya drank water from the tank, and ate the grass, but his turn did not come yet. Then after many days his parents longing to see him thought, "Our son Nandiya, king of deer, was strong as an elephant and of perfect health. If he is alive he will certainly leap the fence and come to see us. We will send him word." So they stood near the road and seeing a Brahmin, they asked in human voice, "Sir, where are you going?" "To Saketa," he said. So sending a message to their son, they spoke the first stanza. Will you go to the king's park, Brahmin, when out you're traveling through? Find out our dear son Nandiya and tell him our message true. Your father and mother are stricken in years and their hearts are glad for you." The Brahmin, saying, "It is well," accepted, and going to Saketa next day entered the park, and asked which is Nandiya. The deer came near him and said, "I." The Brahmin told his message. Nandiya, hearing it, said, "I might go, Brahmin. I might certainly leap the fence and go. But I have enjoyed regular food and drink from the king, and this stands to me as a debt. Besides, I have lived long among these deer, and it is improper for me to go away without doing good to this king and to them, or without showing my strength. But when my turn comes, I will do good to them and come gladly." And Sir explaining this, he spoke 2 stanzas. I owe the king my daily drink and food. I cannot go till I have made it good. To the king's arrows I'll expose my side. Then see my mother and be justified. The Brahmin hearing this went away. Afterwards, on the day when his turn came, the king with a great group of attendants came into the park. The bodhisattva stood on one side. And the king saying, "I will shoot the deer," fitted a sharp arrow to the string. The bodhisattva did not run away as other animals do when scared by the fear of death, but fearless and making his charity his guide, he stood firm, exposing his side with mighty ribs. The king, owing to the effect of his love, could not shoot the arrow. The bodhisattva said, "Great king, why do you not shoot the arrow?" "Shoot, king of deer, I cannot." "Then see the merit of the virtuous, O great king." Then the king, pleased with the bodhisattva, dropped his bow and said, "This senseless length of wood knows your merit. Shall I, who have sense and am a man, not know it? Forgive me. I give you security. Great king, you give me security, but what will this herd of deer in the park do? I give it to them too." So the bodhisattva, having gained security for all deer in the park, for birds in the air and fishes in the water, in the way described in the Nigroda birth, established the king in the 5 commands and said, "Great king, it is good for a king to rule a kingdom by forsaking the ways of wrongdoing, not offending against the 10 kingly virtues and acting with just righteousness. Alms, morals, charity, justice and penitence. Peace, mildness, mercy, meekness, patience. These virtues planted in my soul I feel. From there springs up love and perfect inward welfare." With these words he showed on the kingly virtues in the form of a stanza. And after staying some days with the king, he sent a golden drum round the town, proclaiming the gift of security to all beings. And then saying, "O king, be watchful," he went to see his parents. "Of old in Oud a king of deer I call. By name and nature, Nandiya, delight. To kill me in his deer park came the king. His bow was bent, his arrow on the string. To the king's arrow I exposed my side. Then saw my mother and was justified." These were the stanzas inspired by perfect wisdom. At the end, the master explained the truths, and identified the birth. At the end of the truths, the brother who supported his mother was established in the first path. At that time the father and mother were members of the royal family. The Brahman was Saraputra, the king Ananda, the deer myself.